Here we are again, another exciting video from Steve and Herb. Now, you know what, this is being shot not long after Capitol Audio Fest in DC. And it was in, dozens and dozens of rooms, hearing a lot of music that I heard before. And here's the thing. Sometimes it was like, but sometimes it would be like, wait a minute. I'm hearing a really familiar record, and I'm hearing it in a different way. Better sometimes, worse sometimes, but just hearing, it's almost like hearing a different mix. And that fascinates me. And it's not just at shows. You could hear it at your friend's house or a dealer or something. Wherever you come across an unfamiliar system and hear familiar music, amazing things can happen.
Systems that are very different from the one you're familiar with at home, to me, sound like remastering.
Yeah.
I mean, and sometimes that can just be like, wow.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's kind of like, I don't recognize my favorite,
Right.
George Jones doesn't sound like real George, but you look for surprise. I definitely go to shows hoping that I'll walk in a room and be like very pleasantly surprised.
The thrill of
the new or different.
The shock of the new. That's what I was saying.
It is some of that.
And that's the thing. It's familiar music, but it is the shock of a different sound. It's like this happened to us at the same time, about a year ago, 6 months ago, when we were at this guy Alex's house, and he happened to play Nefertiti, the Miles Davis record, over clipsless scalas, and the electronics were,
I can't remember the amps. It might have been line magnetic or something.
No. Anyway, so we're listening to Nefertiti, and it was an incredible experience because I know this record so well. I played it hundreds of times, and he's playing this record. And I'm thinking, first of all, Tony Williams' drums over there on the left channel. Man, that guy is going to town. He's just dropping bombs, as I think Miles Davis called it. He's got bam, 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 bam. And then there's Herbie Hancock on the right channel, and he's doing these chords. He's doing these things. And of course, there's Miles just floating above the whole thing. But it was just like, it's different. Is it better? Is it perfect? Is it like being there? I don't know whether that's true or not. But what was thrilling was just hearing the connection of the musicians, in the recording in a different way. I'm still excited about what I heard. That's how big. And then, of course, here's the flip side of that. Is I go home and I play Nefertiti, and it's like, uh-oh.
No. I do that all the time.
Right? It's not happening.
As a test for what you're referring to, I asked John Atkinson, my technical editor at Stereophile, I said, when you're over at Alex's and you're measuring those speakers, just do me a favor, just a Herb favor. Listen to Nefertiti. And just then type back and tell me what you think. He goes, no, I don't listen. And I said, just do me that favor. He said, it really sounded amazing. And it's memorable. I'm old. I've heard a lot. I get lucky. People really like to invite me to hear their systems. And it was one of a handful of those kind of wow moments where it all came together. And I'm not even sure. How do you make a system where it all comes together? Maybe that's not possible. But maybe you get one that comes together a lot. The one that makes you want to listen when you walk in the door of coming home. I got to go over there and turn that on. That's my idea of a good system.
So every time I hear a really an impressive system, I can't help myself. I have to, assuming I have the music, I have to play it again. And sometimes it's not as bad as I thought, meaning my system's holding its own against this other thing. Sometimes mine's way better, but it's just that the differences are fascinating. And I was telling her before we started that we have this friend, Don Garber, who's passed away. And remember, at least 20 years ago, I went to his house, he lives nearby, and he played this, not Miles Davis, he played Bob Dylan's Royal Albert Hall. But this was the bootleg. This was before the official version came out. He's playing a bootleg LP of this, and he's playing it. And I'm thinking, again, that's a completely different Bob Dylan voice. The character of his voice, what he was doing with his voice as a singer was extraordinary. And it was like, it changed my opinion of what Dylan was actually doing at that show. that, Dylan was confronting a lot of people who were pissed off about his change, because this was when he went electric, right? So it wasn't like they were cheering, oh, great, Bob Dylan. No, a lot of people were booing Bob Dylan. So he's out there, fearless. He's young. He's probably like 24, 25 years old. He's on stage. He doesn't care that a lot of them don't like it. And he used to say to Robbie Robertson, who was the backing band for Dylan, because Robbie would say to him, people don't like what we're doing. He's like, don't worry, they will eventually, right. Which was true.
Which is, any good artist thinks that. Right. I think it's important for all artists that have high aspirations, right. At least, to have exactly that
But especially for someone that young, who's just starting to get what he wanted, being famous and successful, to risk throwing it all away by turning audiences off, that takes courage.
Or I still think he traffics in understanding what he's doing better than the people who are listening even.
Right.
He's his own best critic, I think.
So anyway, I'm hearing this on Don Garber's system, and it changed what I felt about that music. And in that example, when I listened to it at home, it unlocked something, hearing it on Don's system, that now I could hear it at home. That was amazing to me.
You did.
And I did, yeah.
Right.
And I like Dylan. I just, but I didn't like that particular performance until I heard it on Don's system, because I said, oh, I get it now. I get that fearless, just going for it performance that he gave against the vibes coming from the audience.
The audience is overrated, in my opinion.
But do you have any stories like that of stuff that you heard?
Well, I'm going to tell another Garber story.
Okay.
I met Garber on a construction site, and I was with JC, and we were getting tubes
JC
in the
Morrison.
mail from this guy Ned Carlson in Chicago, and they'd arrive at the job site because we had to sign for them, and we'd open them up, and there'd be like a Globe 50, $15 in these Globe 50s, and he'd go, and we'd just hand them back and forth like they were children or babies. And he's like, this is insane. He's going, what are you doing? And we're going, we're making 5-watt amplifiers. And he's going, that's stupid. And I said, we both love George Jones, and I'll make this short. I invited him over to the firehouse. I said, I'm just going to play one song, and you'll know right away whether this is a good idea, what me and JC are doing. And I put on He Stopped Loving Her Today. And Garber was sitting there. He's covering his face. I mean, we're talking 10 seconds, 15 seconds. I see tears coming down below his hands. He's sobbing. And he starts going, it's worth it, it's worth it, it's worth it. He quit his job basically after that and started Phi. Right. It took a while, but I mean, it changed the whole direction of his life. He actually became the person he really was. He waited his whole life for that moment to change his life. And I think that happened with me. I mean, it's happened with lots of us. Especially when the system is really different. And I want to encourage people at any price level to examine the widest possible difference in equipment that they can. Because you don't know, the stuff you mock may be the stuff you really need and love.
Yeah. Well, I've talked about this. Like, if you've only heard, solid state, you should live with at least one piece of tube electronics. If you've only listened to digital, you should listen to analog. Just something that's really different. And even if you have a bias against it, just try to put it in check for a little bit. Just leave yourself open to the possibility that maybe this other thing that people apparently love, maybe you'll get it. Or maybe you won't. I'm not saying it's a guarantee. I'm just saying it's worth over your journey to explore the other thing that you haven't heard. If you've never lived with a panel speaker, like a Magnapan, or an electrostatic speaker, like a quad, if you've never had that, you should. And by the way, we've talked a lot about expensive stuff, but audio has a long history, and finding some of the stuff used in reasonably good condition certainly brings down the cost of entry, and also makes it so if you buy a pair of Maggies for $1,000 and you keep them for a year and you go, they're not for me, you probably can get $1,000 back out of them. So you can sort of do this with very little, over the long term, hurting your pocketbook that much.
That's
anyway.
a really important point. And I was trying to, that was me with dealers on some extent. I would buy things used, but I tended to try to buy things that I knew I could convert back.
Right.
I just bought a Lenko turntable for $750.
Yeah. You mean now?
At some point,
present,
right now.
Yeah.
I suspect that next year I can sell it for $750.
Right.
It hasn't lost any value, you know.
Well, if you sell it, it'll be a Herb Reichert.
Oh, stop! No,
for
kidding.
$1,500.
No. Actually, it's the fact that Mike Trey breathed on it,
Oh yes.
and it was still $750.
Mike Trey, the spin doctor for Stereophile, who
Right.
covers turntables, and is our friend for decades. So.
And he's actually, he's dragged me to places where I'm like, holy cow. I mean, he's one of these people who discovers, I'm sure for you too, systems like, Steve, you got to hear this system.
Right.
He's done that for me all my whole life.
Yeah. So it is that thing of somehow, in whatever way you can, exposing yourself to difference.
Please.
And yeah, please.
Please.
And basically, and see what happens. See how it affects you. And you just try to be open. Try to put your prejudices aside and just take it in. You know, you don't have to commit. Just be open to the idea.
If you've never had a moving coil, get a moving coil. If you've never had a moving magnet, get a moving magnet.
Yeah.
They're really different, and it's really interesting to see my brain. I do it all the time. I switch from moving coil to moving magnet. And and Steve always criticizes me for this, but whenever I make a change, I really love whatever I just changed it. I love it. I just recently switched to a moving magnet from a really fancy moving coil. I was like, oh, this is the best thing ever. And, and a week later, I'm kind of like, well, I think I'll date somebody else.
But the reason you're feeling that way is because you're hearing familiar.
That's my point.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think we've done it. Now, here's the thing. You know what we're going to do right now?
Audiophile system of the day.
Yes.
Which is my favorite part.
I know.
Even when I'm in the video, I like that part.
This is all just a big build-up to the viewer system of the day. So, here it is. Michael sent in these pictures, and he's very proud that the room was architecturally designed with a mixed use of organic and natural materials to create a peaceful and relaxed environment to listen to music. And he's planning, by the way, he hasn't done it yet, but he's going to get a Macintosh MEN 220 room correction system in about a year or so. The system as it stands right now features a Macintosh MA12000 integrated amplifier that delivers 375 watts per channel into 8 4 and 2 ohm loads. He's using a streamer from Inuus. It's the Pulse streamer, works well with Tidal. And the speakers are Wharfdale Elysian 4 towers. Anyway, very nice system. Thank you, Michael. So we're back. Thank you so much for watching the Herb and Steve show. And come back for more. This is going to be on a semi-regular basis. If you dig the channel, please consider joining my Patreon. Address is on the screen right now. And of course, if you like a given video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel as we creeping so slowly, but we'll get there eventually, 250,000 subscribers. And what a glorious day that will be. Yeah, we'll get there eventually. Anyway, thank you again for watching. Hope to see you guys back here again very, very soon.